Hi there, it's January the 7th and we're continuing our progress through the good news of Matthew, and today we're in Matthew chapter 6 verses 1 to 25. Jesus deals here with motivations of the heart, with what is really driving us in our behaviours towards God. So often when we do things, we've been doing things so that we can be seen, so that we can evidence our religiosity. Jesus says to his followers, his apprentices, don't do that. It's about the inner motivation. It's about what God sees. It's about the heart that really counts. So first of all, he says, when we give, let's not give with big flourishes. Let's not ask for memorial tablets on walls. Let's not let everyone know how generous we are. But actually, let's realize that God sees the generosity of our hearts when we give. He says, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. Let it even be a secret from yourself, as it were. And he who sees you give in secret will reward you openly. Jesus says a similar thing about prayer. He says, when you pray, don't make a big show of prayer. It's so possible to use lots and lots of words. In fact, he says the pagans use lots of words. One of the things he's referring to is the fact that pagans felt they had to use all the right words and lots of them in order to appease their gods. But he's saying you don't have to do that with God, because God is your Father. You have a relationship with him so that already he knows what you have need of before you ask of it. And he says, instead of using lots and lots of words, just simply say, Our Father, the one in heaven, your name is matchless. Let your kingdom come, that your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So it's here and now, not in heaven later on, but here and now. Let your kingdom come now as it is in heaven. And give us today our bread that's more than enough. The word that he uses here in the Greek is a word epiousion, ton epiousion, the more than enough bread. That doesn't mean bread to hoard and keep, but it actually means enough to have enough and to give away, to supply. It's a bit like the picture of manna. And then forgiveness is a big part of this. Forgive us our sin as we forgive those who sin against us. Forgive us our debts, the ones that we have owed people, as we forgive those who are indebted to us. And lead us not into the time of trial. Don't bring us to the time of testing. Don't have to assay us. Don't have to test our motives, but deliver us from evil. This is one of the most powerful prayers that we know. And it's a pattern of prayer that Jesus gives to us here. And then he also talks about fasting, and he says that fasting is part of the ongoing regular life of the apprentice of Jesus. Fasting really isn't about twisting God's arm by going without, by fasting long enough to prove that we are superhuman strength people who fast until we're hurting. But it's actually, fasting is about saying no to our bodies because there's something more important. It's about saying no to our stomachs because we have something more important that we're engaged in. And it's giving ourselves also to prayer. So Jesus says, when you fast, don't make a big thing of it. Don't go sad, and don't go inward. Don't go crazy about it. But actually, anoint your face, wash your hands, just be normal is what he's saying when you're fasting. Don't let everybody know, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. And then lastly, in this section that we're reading, Jesus talks about gathering up our treasures. Where are our treasures? Treasures should be where our heart is. And actually, if our treasure is in the bank, or if our treasure is in our material things, then we're missing the point. We are not to hoard things for ourselves here. We are to hoard up, says Jesus, store up treasure in heaven. That is, invest in the things that are eternal. So many of the things that people invest in, that give themselves to, are passing. They are, as Jesus said, corrupted by rust and moth. And he said, don't do that. Because he says that is like serving two gods. That's like serving an idol, serving what he calls mammon. And you can't have two masters. Either you love one and hate the other, or you serve one and disrespect the other. So he says, don't do that. Don't have more than one master. Don't be materialistic. Jesus is all here about the inward attitude, about the heart that is towards God. Let's us constantly test our hearts, constantly try our hearts, constantly test our motivations, so that we can be clear that our hearts are focused on things of God, on things of Him, so that we're not distracted and we're not taken astray by the material things around us. Have a very good January the 7th.